Hello, my name is Ashley, and recently I had a few requests to go over a video tutorial on my technique that I use to do large graphgans. I had recently released one that was a tiger face, which is this example, as well as one that was a leopard. And so I wanted to take the time today and go over a smaller pattern, a little motif that uses this technique that people can do within 2 to 4 hours to see if they enjoyed the technique or they understand it, to go along with some of my patterns that I have released. So this technique is really good if you do have a lot of single color changes, as in this example, a lot of switching back and forth of colors that would make bobbins a little bit difficult to use, as well as if you are cutting the yarns in the back as you go. This technique would help minimize the number of ends that would be required to weave back into the piece. You do have fringe on the ends, which in some examples it's fun, especially with big cats, to leave the fringe alone. So I wanted to go ahead and take the time and I'll show you what we're making. So this is a small pattern for a Valentine's Day heart that I have used on a different pattern. It's a 3-color, fairly simplistic, but it does show you the single color changes, so you get used to that technique and how that feels. So it's 47 stitches across and 24 rows high. So I did use some scrap yarn here. It's a medium weight scrap yarn that I had. I think my pattern wrote down as white, blue, and purple. I know on camera it looks a little bit yellow. It's more of a cream color. So this pattern, I did use a 5mm hook, H8 size. It's one size smaller than the recommendation on the yarn itself. And I do that to try to minimize the height of the stitch, and it helps tighten those stitches a little bit so you don't see the colors through necessarily. This particular pattern was written actually for a 3mm hook, which made it super, super tight for a scarf pattern I did. And I can show you that. So this was the original pattern that was used with a 3mm hook. As you can see, it is significantly smaller and shorter, and the stitches are a lot more square versus this one where they're a lot more elongated. And so that was kind of the original pattern that I wrote, but obviously using a very small hook is time consuming, and I want to make sure that this is painless as possible to go through. So just to prepare yourself, I just wrote down a few notes here. If you do have some scrap yarn available in 3 colors, medium weight yarn is preferred. That way you're not getting too small into the details. And then the 8H 5mm hook is what I used. The scissors, if you do want to check your gauge, a measuring tape is good to have on hand. This particular square took me 2 hours in total to complete. Obviously I don't expect everybody to, you know, be as quick as I have, because I have had practice. So, you know, give yourself 2 to 4 hours, and obviously you do not have to complete the whole project. It might take you 1 or 2 rows to kind of get used to the technique and decide whether it's for you or not. So moving forward, let's get started and I'll show you how I make this. So now that we have the 48 chains in the white, as you can see, I flipped it over to see the back ridge, which is going to be where we're going to go crochet the next row. As you can see from the pattern, all 47 stitches that we're going to make are going to be in the white color. So despite it only being one color, we are going to attach all 3 to this, and I'll show you how I do this. So right now I'm in the end chain. And I'm going to take about, I usually do about 4 inches or so of yarn. Take the 2 colors and pull through the loop like this. And then I'm going to pick up that white and chain through. And so now what you see, if I pull it tight, those colors are locked in and I have my 3 colors ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip the first. Come in here to the second, and we're going to lay the white on top like this, and the colors are going to be below it, and these tails are going to be off to the side. So it's going to look kind of something like this to set up. And don't worry too much about what the ends are doing, because we're gonna, once each row goes across, we actually cut the yarn and we can untangle any tangles then. So now for this stitch, I'm gonna pick up the white, pull it through like this, over the colors and in like that. That's our first stitch. So cover the colors. We're going to go into the next back ridge. Pick up the white and pull it through. So you can see it's not necessarily have to be extremely tight, since I am using a smaller hook. And it actually hides the colors fairly well. And you do have the fringe at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and go across this row, all 47 being in white. And I'll be back. And as you can see there, this particular yarn does want to fray a little bit. So sometimes this back ridge is really difficult. It can be, especially with some yarns. Once we get going, it's not going to be nearly as difficult to pick up these rows. And so sometimes, you know, even if the pattern does call for row 1 being of multiple colors, especially if you're doing a lot of single color switches, it may not be a bad idea to go ahead and just do a single color row at the bottom. That just makes your life a little bit easier when you go and you're having to switch colors on the first row. Because as you can see, this does kind of want to curl up. We're going to go ahead at the very end and stretch it out. And you can see what it looks like then. It's not nearly as ugly as it is now. And the hardest part about this is keeping your tension consistent, because otherwise it will want to curl a little bit, especially if you are fighting the yarn ball. Okay, last one. Okay. Okay, and as this gains a little weight, it's not going to turn like that. But that would be our first row. You can kind of make it snug through here. And what we're going to do is on the end here, we're going to measure about 4 inches. My tail might be a little longer than that. And I do usually my colors first, and then I take off a little bit less than the white like that. That way when I pull it through, they're all even, or fairly even. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's going to be the way I do it. So now that we have the first row done, like this, we're going to go ahead and start the second row. So we're going to go ahead and start row 2. So my pattern is written out here. We're going to start with 14 white. Right now I do have the hook through both loops of the first stitch that we're going to do. So after cutting my yarn, I did grab all 3 colors back. We're going to look at about a 4-inch tail. Grab all 3 colors, pull through both loops, and drop the tails, make them even as much as you can, and just kind of tighten it up. So now with the 3 colors, since our first is white, we're going to go ahead and grab the white and pull it through like this. And this is just to lock it in place. And so now, same as we did the first row, 14 white, we're going to make sure our colors are low and the white is high. And we're gonna go in that first stitch again, back loop only, and single crochet. Grab and single. So now we're gonna do that 14 white. You'll notice this is a lot easier than working that foundation row. Okay, so now we have the 14, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 full. In my 14th, I'm gonna leave 2 loops on the hook and we're gonna transfer to 1 blue. So with the 2 here, we're gonna go ahead, instead of grabbing white, we're gonna loop through the blue. And this yarn does like to fray a bit, I apologize. Like this. And so now blue is becoming the color that's going high and the other 2 low. So row 2, we're gonna go immediately skip back to 8 white after this. So go down with the 2 colors, back loop only, 2 loops on the hook, and we're gonna pick that white back up. And it's okay, especially with single color changes, make sure this loop does have an extension, because if you do it too tight, I'll show you, it makes it really hard. It kind of dips down with the color changes, and it makes it really tight. So what you'll want to do, which is how I usually do it, and I'll pull that out, especially for single color changes, grab it, and I just kind of extend it a little bit like that. So it feels loose, but it's not nearly as loose as you think. Pull that white through, drop the blue back down, grab those 2 colors, and we're gonna do 8 white. You can tell it's nice and even change. Okay, so that's gonna be the 8 white. We're gonna go back and do 1 blue. Drop the white, pick up the blue. Pull that up a little bit. And sometimes I do wrap it like that, just so my yarn doesn't get too tangled. And now we're gonna do 2 white. Like that. We're gonna grab a purple. We're gonna do 7 white. Six blue. Three white. One blue. The last 3 are 3 white. we're gonna measure out our tails. I'll grab these two, cut even. I back this up a little bit, and then I pull through. So now we have the 2 rows. As you can kind of see, it's nice and even up here. If it does, the purple is a little bit of a dip here, so you can kind of see that second bar gets hidden if it's too tight. So that's definitely something that it's really okay to almost make the stitches feel too loose as you're going in this technique. Otherwise you might see, and it's not, as soon as weight gets added, it's not a huge deal, but it's definitely something to keep in mind with practice. If you are seeing a bunch of little divots when you change, here's another blue that's a little bit tight, that'll be something to work on with your tension. So now we're gonna go ahead and I'll flip the page and we're gonna go to row 3. So now we're gonna go ahead and start row 3. So same thing, as I gathered my yarn, we got a tail. We're gonna go in this first stitch here, both loops. Grab that, pull all 3 through. Kind of measure out, get the tails as even as possible. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Let it be tight. So first we're gonna do 2 white. So I'm just gonna pull the white through only to make it kind of lock those in. Blue and purple are gonna go bottom, white on top. I'm gonna go in back into this first stitch. I do recommend putting some tension here on the right, that way otherwise that first stitch might disappear. We're gonna go back loop only on it, single crochet. So we're gonna go 2 white, 2 loops. We're gonna pick up the blue, drop the white, and we're gonna go 1 blue, 2 white, now we're gonna go 7 blue, this yarn likes to fray a lot. Okay, so now we have the 6th completed and the 7th has the 2 loops on. We're gonna go back to white. Two blue, and white, gonna pick up the purple. We'll try not to quite make it as tight as we did the previous row. Kind of extra extension there. Grab the white again. Oops. Drop the purple. Grab the blue. And we're going to finish with 15 white. Don't feel too bad if this last stitch, because I know we're not doing a whole lot with it, kind of curls in. That'll get better with weight. So we're gonna grab, measure out our tails. Do 2 like this, and I just add a little length like that to the white. That way, pull it through. They're just about even. Not perfect. Okay, so that's gonna be row 3. Okay, and now we're gonna go ahead, go over to row 4, which is gonna have a whole lot of single crochet color changes. So right now we're gonna go ahead and start row 4. As you can see with the pattern, there are a lot of ones. So we're gonna do a lot of 1-stitch color changes. So that's a good time to really show you kind of the best way to handle your tension. So you can kind of see this purple, it's a little bit of a dip here. I think this yarn might be a little bit thinner than the white, which doesn't help, but it's good to note. That way here we can kind of work on extending that tension a little bit. So grab the yarns. We're gonna go first stitch both loops, grab all 3, pull through, get those tails even, like this. Okay, we're gonna start off with 1 white. So I just grab that color, pull it through. That way it just locks it in, and I tighten it. So now with the 2 colors down and white up, we're gonna do 1 white and then 10 blue. So we're going to come in here to this first stitch, back loop only, do 1. Don't lose that stitch, so make sure you do extend it out a little bit, because there's usually a lot going on with that first stitch. So we're going to go ahead and just to keep my yarn from untangling there. All right, so now we got blue up and the other 2 colors down. We're going to do 10 blue. And you can kind of see this blue where it frays. It's hard to see this stitch right here. There's actually 1 there. Okay, now we're going to go 1 white, 1 blue, 1 white. And making these single color changes, don't hesitate to really extend this, because you don't want to lose that 1 in the pattern. One white, and now we're going to go 8 blue. Okay, and then we're going to do another 1 white, 1 blue, 1 white. Don't worry if it feels loose, that's perfectly fine. And now we're going to go 1 purple, 1 white, 1 purple. I'm going to overextend that purple a little bit. You can see how tight that is. And we're going to do 6 white. One blue, and then 6 more white. Now we're going to do one blue, one white, one purple. And then one white, one blue, one white. And that's going to be row 4. Okay, so now that we survived row 4 with all those single colors, this is what it's looking like now, and we're going to go ahead and do row 5. So we're going to start off with 2 white, 1 blue, 7 white. Grab this first stitch, pull through, grab white. Okay, go back into that first stitch, back loop only. Two white, 1 blue. Stretch that out, and now we're going to do 7 white. On the 7th, we hold up on the 2 loops. We're going to go 1 blue and then 3 white. So you can kind of see this little first purple got a little funky. It's nothing too bad, but that just has to do with tension. So we'll have to make sure we even this blue a little bit. It does help to say that this white is thicker than my other colors, so it'll be okay though. So okay, so we'll be right back with row 6. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start row 6, which begins with 2 white and 1 blue. So we're going to go ahead and grab our tails. This first stitch has 2 loops, and pull those right through. Start with white and pull that through. that first stitch. 1, 2. Let's grab blue. Stretch that out. 7 white. Okay, so you can kind of start seeing the beginning of the heart there with the background. And we'll go to row 7. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and begin row 7. It's gonna start off with 3 single colors, so 1 white, 1 purple, 1 blue. So we're gonna grab yarn, 2 loops, pull through, tighten these a little bit. Okay, so as you can kind of see, this first stitch is a little hard to see sometimes when you have a lot going on with it. So we're going to go in back loop only, 1 white, just stretch it out a little bit, grab purple, and then blue. 4 white, Okay, and now we'll go to row 8. Okay, so now we're going to begin with row 8, which starts with 2 white, 1 blue. Grab this first stitch, 2 loops, grab white, make it tight. Okay, we're going to go back into that first stitch. Again, it's a little hard to see sometimes, especially if there's a lot of different colors here. We're going to go 2 white, 1 blue, 7 white, we can shorten that white up a little bit. Okay, if your curl starts curling in, don't hesitate, just trying to stretch it out. Okay, so you can kind of see a little bit of a divot here, what's going on, so really make sure to stretch those single colors out, even more than I did. And let's go to row 9. Okay, we're going to begin with row 9, which is actually going to start with 12 blue. So we're same process. We're going to grab this first stitch, 2 loops, pull all the colors through, line these up. Instead of grabbing white, since we're starting with blue, we're just going to grab blue and make it tight that way. So blue is up, these 2 colors are down. We'll go back into that first stitch and we're going to start with 12 blue. You do have a little color here peeking through. That last stitch you might want to have to, it's a little bit too tight. So you would think making it tighter, which would be like this way, you wouldn't get those colors showing through, but it's actually exact opposite because it pulls this last bar in too far and it actually will start showing the colors. So you actually want to make it looser. Okay, so that's going to be the end of row 9, and we'll go to row 10. Okay, we're going to begin row 10 with 1 white, 7 blue. So we're going to come in here, find that first blue stitch, pull these through. We're going to go 1 white, okay, go back in the first stitch, 1 white, and then 7 blue. And that is row 10. Now all this fringe is just gonna have to settle down. All right, and I'll see you back for row 11. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start row 11. It starts off with 10 white and 1 blue. Grab white, tighten up. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and find that first white stitch and go 10 white. Okay. So I just kind of flick those up from the bottom. So now we're gonna go to row 12, which is gonna be our halfway mark. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start row 12, which starts with 2 white and 1 blue. First stitch. It's okay to have like staggered fringe, kind of makes it look more natural. So you can kind of see this is going to be my first stitch. 2 white, 1 blue. Nine white, And that is row 12, and we are officially halfway done. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start row 13, which is gonna begin with 4 white and 9 blue. So now we got row 13 done. You can see our X in the middle here, and we'll go on to row 14. We're going to go ahead and start row 14, starting with 1 white and 9 blue. We'll grab this white. Okay, we're going to grab this first stitch in the back loop only. It's a little tight. Stretch that out, and we're going to grab 9 blue. Okay, and that is row 14. Okay, we're going to begin row 15, which starts off with 12 white. And that is row 15. And I'll see you back at 16. So right now we're going to start with row 16, which starts with 2 white and 1 blue. and finish with one white. And that is going to be row 16. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start row 17, which starts off with 2 white and 1 blue. And then we're going to do 9 white. And that is row 17. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start row 18, which starts with 2 white and 1 blue. And then 9 white. sometimes you just have to flip it. And that is going to be row 18. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start row 19, which starts with 2 white and 2 blue. And then 5 white. And that is row 19. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with row 20, which starts with 3 white and 1 blue. And then 1 white. And 1 purple. 7 white. And blue. and 3 white. And that is row 20. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start row 21, which starts with 3 white and 1 blue. And I'm doing 9 white. That is going to be row 21. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start row 22. And as you can see, we have a series of single color changes. So we're going to go white, blue, white, blue, white to start off with. And now we're going to do 6 blue. So we're going to start row 23, which is 3 white and 1 blue to start with. We're going to do 1 white, and then 7 blue, Okay, so now we're going to finish off with our last row, row 24, and we're going to start it off with 13 white. And that is all 24 rows.